What's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Today, I've got 4 live streams. Super pumped about the first one here. I'm going to be speaking with Ilya. He's the founder and CEO of Van Hack. He's based in Vancouver, BC. They are essentially a global tech talent marketplace. Really excited to dive into his story. He's been an immigrant since before he can remember. He was born in Siberia in the Soviet era. His family moved to Israel when he was 2. He then settled in Vancouver while he was still a kid. And he's got a really interesting story. So I'm going to bring him on. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Ilya, what's up, man?
Hey, Sunny, how you doing? It's good to be here.
I am well. So, do you want to kick us off? What's Van Hack about? We'll keep it to a couple paragraphs for now, but then we'll circle back to it near the end of the interview.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm Ilya, the founder and CEO at Van Hack. We're a international tech recruiting company. We've been around for almost 11 years now and done over 2,000 hires. Mostly working with kind of fast-growing mid-sized tech companies like Brex, Deal, DigitalOcean, 1Password. Really just passionate about helping people get international jobs and change their life through tech jobs.
So you were I don't know, like for me, diving into like the company stuff and the tech stuff is usually my instinct to kind of go deep into that, but I find like these stories fall flat unless people know a little bit about the founder and kind of their why and all that, right? So I don't know, take me back, right? So like I said, you were born in Siberia and Israel. Now you're in Vancouver, all before you were 5. So what does home mean to someone who's been an immigrant their whole life?
Great question. Yeah. I guess for me, home would be here in Vancouver, where I am now. I moved here when I was 5, so just growing up here, made this home. But there's always kind of this, especially when I first arrived to Canada, feeling of being different, of being from somewhere else, of being an outsider, and so I was really, I guess, struggling when I first moved, and I can kind of relate to an immigrant experience. Although I was, a little kid, it was different adapting. Rather than an adult who needs to learn the language, etc., and start earning money. So yeah, I felt really like it shaped who I am, and it also made me feel like I could empathize with other people who are kind of moving and relocating and immigrating. Even though that happened, over 30 years ago now, it's still a huge part of my life. And anytime we help someone get hired and they move to a new country and they have kids, it's cool to see the kind of what I had someone else having too.
So growing up in Vancouver, and by the way, I was born and raised in Edmonton, so not too far away.
Yeah.
What did young Ilya want to be? Like, was the entrepreneurial itch there early, or what was one of your first early, I don't know, memories of like what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I would always tell people I wanted to be a businessman, or I didn't know the word entrepreneur when I was a little kid. So I just or founder wasn't a term; it wasn't a cool thing. So I would just tell people I wanted to be a businessman. Um, I don't know. I feel like my parents were part of like Amway and like a bunch of these MLM marketing pyramid scheme things that we got into. And although it didn't really turn into a successful business, one thing that it did have was a lot of kind of educational and training and like books like The Magic of Thinking Big and How to Win Friends and Influence People. These kind of like self-help books that are kind of becoming more, I guess, accepted these days. Back in the early 90s weren't really a thing. So those really influenced me, like reading those. And also I'm just thinking about it now, like it was kind of like the old podcasts. There were cassette tapes that people would listen to in their car. And so my parents would listen to those about like starting a business, and all that really influenced me to want to, be a start entrepreneur. My first businesses, I would go door to door and ask people if they would be open for me to do them the favor of recycling their bottles and pop cans. So sometimes people just were too lazy to throw it out. So I would kind of like run a little recycling business for them. So I got a bunch of 5-cent candies at 7-Eleven for that. The classic lemonade stand as well. But always trying to do something since I was 5-6 years old. And I think it kind of went from there.
And then you studied applied economics at Cornell. Why economics, and what did it actually, teach you about how the world works?
Yeah, so that name of that degree is a little bit misleading. It is more of like a business degree. So we did have some econ courses, but it was more like entrepreneurship, marketing, um, that kind of thing that I was focused on during college. I had a lot of really great experiences at university. It opened up the world to me, where I could before was like just living at home in my own city. This was on the other coast of North America, other country, in the U.S. and pretty global university. So there are people from everywhere, and so learning and kind of understanding how to run a business, and New York, upstate New York, East Coast lifestyle was really eye opening and challenging. But yeah, I'm really glad I made that decision, because I had to transfer, so I wasn't sure if it was a good idea. Those moments in your life where you're
Yeah.
figure things out.
And then your first move out of school was Rio, like with a mining giant, is that right? And
Yeah, I
so
got
how does a Canadian, econ grad end up in Brazil?
yeah. There's actually the group. It's called ISEC. It's kind of similar to what VanHack is today, but they do international jobs for students, to try and help students get internships or kind of full-time jobs after graduation abroad. And they have chapters all over the world. And so that group ISEC helped connect me to Valley, which is the big mining company. And it was just kind of a lucky thing. They emailed me on a Wednesday saying I had a job interview in Toronto on Friday. I was in Ithaca, New York. Like I had no way of going there, and driving overnight just to do the job interview at 9 a.m. and then driving back to Ithaca. And then getting that job was really life changing as well, because it allowed me to move down to Brazil and learn this new culture and
So
life quite a bit.
4 years inside, Brazil's startup scene. Like, what did that world teach you that a classroom never could?
Well, I guess it just I get a lot of things. First off, Portuguese. So I learned a new language. So I would say I can like pass for half Brazilian, or I would say I have pretty good Portuguese, because of the 4 years down there, and then all the years since speaking Portuguese. Also, I feel like it really kind of opened up that there's great talent everywhere. The seed of of what we started doing at VanHack. I met a lot of really strong entrepreneurs, engineers who are really good at coding and not so good at communication, and then that really spurred the idea for VanHack. But really, it kind of got me into the startup world. So I went to Brazil working for this huge, multinational, second biggest company in the mining space in the world, like over 100,000 employees, super corporate. And then ended up quitting that job to work at a startup accelerator in Rio, where I was just like volunteering, basically working for equity, and then pitching at demo day and really understanding what like an MVP is, who Paul Graham is, what a pivot is, and just really jumping into the startup world with both feet. And that was really fun, because I was kind of like the token foreigner. So they put me in all the like the investment conversations and all the sales conversations with international like potential clients, and it was really cool to kind of, I would say, arbitrage my skills, where I was just, in my opinion, like a regular guy who went to business school, a year ago, and then I was, start fundraising and pitching deals and doing all these things that like maybe if I had moved to San Francisco I could have done, but it also, like, because I was the foreigner in a different location, it allowed me to stand out and have all these experiences that I probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Super, super cool. So you lived across countries, cultures, and languages. How did that shape the way you see talent and opportunity?
Yeah, I think it made me a lot more open-minded to where great talent is from. Brazil, for example, just on that theme, you kind of still think of samba, the beach, supermodels, lazy. Maybe I had that, that bias, or maybe I'm not sure the right word, stereotype in my mind, and you have that for every country, right? That you can think of. And so removing that bias and kind of being like, oh wow, there's people here who work like incredibly hard. And for example, Sao Paulo is a huge financial hub, similar to New York, probably after New York, and maybe Chicago would be number 3 in the Americas in terms of the size of the market. For example, like all these things that shows you just the world is so much bigger, and there's great talent, out there. So yeah, I didn't think Brazil was a powerhouse for software engineering, and then now I've realized it is, and work with tech talent from there and from everywhere really these days.
And then looking back, right, what from your early life kind of set you up to build a company about crossing borders?
Well, I think like similar, to how we started off the conversation, being an immigrant. Like since I can remember, as you mentioned off the top, it really kind of just as part of who I am. I like, even to this day, I kind of spend my life or my time between 2 countries, Canada and Brazil. I really feel like this kind of concept of global citizens is becoming more mainstream. And then with tech, there's just this kind of opportunity of bringing talent from one place and transferring it to another place. It's just very easy to bring a engineer from abroad to a new country because the skills are so transferable.
And then you met these like brilliant Brazilian engineers, right, who couldn't get hired abroad. Can you walk me through the moment you realized that essentially was like a problem worth solving?
There wasn't really one specific moment. So with VanHack, actually, it was just kind of you know kind of feeling like finding the pain and following the customer feedback and trail until you find the business. So for example, we actually started VanHack. When I was doing VanHack, before VanHack, I had a company called Brazil Career Blueprint that was helping people move to Brazil. I saw someone do the same thing for China. I thought that would be cool to do for Brazil. And so I actually partnered with that guy, and he helped me out and try to learn about how to like put up a website and get things going. And then when I did that, all my Brazilian friends said, I'm doing this the wrong way. I have to help Brazilians move to Canada. And there was a bunch of things like this where it kind of helped me reframe what I was doing and understand that, hey, you know what, the actual pain point here are senior engineers from Brazil, and then I guess now worldwide, who are good at coding, not so good at communication. How do we help them prepare themselves? And then all of a sudden we realized there's a business in recruiting them and actually working with employers as well. So it's always been kind of an evolution, and even to this day now with our new business model of the all you can hire subscription plan that we have, that's also something where you just kind of listen to the market and try and evolve as you grow 10 years in.
And the gap wasn't skill, it was English and soft skills, right? So when did that click for you?
I think it's when I kind of moved back here and started going to all the meetups here in Vancouver after living in Brazil, and then meeting Brazilian engineers here in town, and realizing that they were really good, and it's easier to learn English than it is to learn JavaScript. So it was kind of a fun thing to try and figure out and understand. Okay, what are the kind of most common words, or what is like the fastest way to teach someone and take someone from like not good enough to great, and help them prepare for their job. And a lot of times it's just confidence. It's not even like ability. Like just giving people the confidence that they are good at speaking, and that maybe like don't go on for 5 minutes, or keep these things in common, and try and it's tips that for us would be kind of straightforward, but for someone would make a huge difference. And then they feel confident, they do the job interview well, and then they get the offer, and there we go.
And so the story goes that you launched with an ugly Portuguese landing page, want to learn to code and move to Vancouver. What happened when you hit publish?
So we started actually as everything was just focused on Brazil, and it was just focused on, when I say we started, it was just yet another side project on kind of my road of many side projects that I honestly didn't think would work out. So nothing too much happened when we hit publish. I just put up a landing page in Portuguese, focused on Brazilian developers, or actually it was focused on people who want to learn how to code, coming to Vancouver, and having an in-person boot camp here. That was kind of like the actual first idea. I put that up on a bunch of Facebook groups to give you an idea how long ago this was, that Facebook groups were still a thing, like Facebook groups for Brazilians who want to move to Canada. And then those people who ended up signing up to the website were people who knew how to code already and were just wanting help with their resumes and kind of job interview prep. So that's when I realized that was kind of the market. I did a bunch of customer discovery calls, maybe 30 or 40, met with a few people in person who were here locally as well, and just started kind of testing and seeing like, what do you need help with? How much can I charge you that you'll see value?
And then employers started asking to hire your students. Was that essentially the moment you knew you had, a business, not just a school?
Well, the school was doing pretty well, like even before we started doing recruitment. I believe
Mm.
we did close to 100K in our first year. Don't quote me. So it was more money than I was making for my job at the time. And I quit my job on December 31st, 2015. And so that day, like 2015, we still weren't doing recruitment. We just started really doing recruitment more seriously in 2016. And so that's when I realized, like, okay, maybe I have a company here. And I had no idea how recruitment worked, but I just knew that there was something, because a bunch of people that I had met over the first year of running the company, or the side project at the time, I guess, told me like, oh, there's like so much value here. I didn't really even know how. Like, I didn't know that you could charge 20% of the salary. As we started with much different pricing. I just knew there was something there. So yeah.
That's massive, right? Like 20%. And you said you guys have brought on how many? You guys have made how many placements to date?
Well, it's like 2,300. Not all of them are full fat price. We have some that like bulk discount and things like this. Just because
Sure.
customers, like we've had one customer hire over 100 people, etc. So
Unbelievable. So can you talk about like what was one of the hardest failures or maybe like wrong turn in those early Van Hack years?
yeah, the biggest wrong turn was having three other co-founders from day one. No vested equity. I mean, we didn't even have a contract. It was just like, like I said, I thought this would be a side project. Like, just put yourself back in my shoes before you start freaking out. I can see the look on your face. Yeah, well, I mean, there's no real justification now, and it's one of those things that Giselle, my co-founder now and life co-founder, likes to kind of tell me about, like, hey, do you remember when you did this? Well, yeah. So I didn't think it would be a successful company. I just had gone through so many failures up until that point, that I just didn't really think much of it, and just decided, you know what, let's be fair and give everyone 25%, and we're all friends, and kumbaya. That blew up in my face. So yeah.
Interesting. So you built this with your wife, right? And co-founder. How did betting on each other change how you built the company?
I think it kept me going in the hard moments, and also kept me grounded in the more kind of things are going great moments. So we're very opposite people. I'm super extroverted. Like to be here on the podcast in front of the camera, making content, taking pictures, or talking to all sorts of people all the time. And she's very much like introverted, and more like one-on-one conversations kind of thing. And then I'm also more like aggressive, and let's grow, and let's spend money on here and grow this. And she's more like kind of take it easy and be smart and strategic. So she's our chief strategy officer. And it really taught me that, like, I forget who it was, Alexandra, one of our kind of first customers and good friends of mine. She told me, you can have many startups, but hopefully you only have one spouse. So which has kind of try and focus on getting everything in the family and marriage and all that solid, and then it makes things a lot more how you say gives me the confidence to go and attack the day at work, which I think is everyone has kind of similar things, hopefully within their marriage. But with it, like, us being co-founders, you can really have more discussions and tell things to her that I couldn't tell to other people, kind of thing. And also, she's really good at identifying people who don't have our best interests in mind, because I'm like, yeah, at least I've changed a lot in the last 10 years around this, but I used to be a lot more trusting and open and sharing all the nitty gritty details with people who I don't really know that well. And that's come back to bite me a bunch, and she's kind of like helped me steer clear of some traps along the years.
That's lovely. You know, my wife is definitely my biggest supporter. I was just thinking about that this morning, actually, that how important that is, or how much I value it, to have someone by your side that's like always going to be there through the pivots and the all the different ups and downs. So VanHack is now 500,000 engineers. Is that right? Across
Yeah.
100+ countries. I'm trying to reconcile that number with the 2,500 you guys have placed, I guess. But can you zoom out for me? What problem are you really solving?
Yeah. Well, quickly on the number, I mean, obviously, not everyone we have 500,000 people, van hackers. Not everyone's an engineer. Not everyone speaks English well, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a huge funnel, and we really only focus on the top the 1% of talent that we have in the pipeline. That's probably maybe top 3%. I don't know, whatever, top X%. There's a lot of players in our space who are like top 3%, top 2%, whatever. It's the top engineers, and they're rare and hard to find. And then the whole like act of making a hire is just so hard, actually. Like if you stop and think about all the things that have to go right, and interviews have to be passed, offers have to be accepted, etc. Yeah, so I just wanted to, that's why there's this huge top of funnel and a smaller lower funnel. And I think just what we're trying to build is kind of the operating system for global tech hiring. It's kind of the infrastructure layer of how do you go from wanting to hire someone and then being able to find the right person, vet it, and then book the interview and have that whole experience be as smooth as possible. So yeah, we're trying to increase that number to get to 10,000 or to get to many millions. I don't know, maybe not millions, but as many hires as possible, and just keep kind of the momentum going.
So your thesis is that great talent is everywhere, access isn't. Why is that still broken in 2026?
I think the biggest thing is it's just really hard to build trust online. And so, you see an engineer's profile. How do you know they're good? How do you know like the schools they went to are good? The technical skills, are they really good? That's a whole challenge. Like vetting an engineer, especially now with AI, is just a huge problem. So yeah, I think also English. A lot of people still don't speak English. Like imagine if every great software engineer in the world spoke English, that'd probably be like a few million more really good engineers available to work in North American companies and help them stimulate innovation, etc. And we not just North America, but just work globally, for example. Yeah, so I think it's a hard problem. There's a lot of moving parts, and then anytime you deal with people, it just becomes that much more complicated. So it's something that I think will be a problem for a while, and also like a really exciting opportunity. One last thing on that is also time zone. I feel like there's this huge like hidden bias and it's not really a bias, but just like impediment, where the majority of the world's software engineers are in the Eastern Hemisphere, and the majority of the world's software development jobs are in the Western Hemisphere. Like Eastern Hemisphere, Eastern Europe, India, Russia, China, like huge populations. Majority of the world's developers probably are, well, not probably, they are on that side of the world. And then you have all these jobs here. So how do you maybe like, one idea I had is maybe having this like island of the Caribbean that has a digital nomad visa where you can bring people in and then have them working in the right time zone. I'm just trying to think about ways to solve this bias, but yeah, there's all these kind of, I guess, world problems or world geography reasons as well. So it's a big problem.
And you've leaned hard into AI, right? AI vetting, AI matching, AI English tests. Is AI
Yeah.
making hiring better or just faster?
Well, faster, usually is better if it's the same quality. So yeah, I know what you mean though. Yeah, it's, I guess, like anything, changing the tools and therefore creating opportunities and also challenges. The challenges obviously is like, how do you vet, and if someone actually knows the skills, or are they just using the LLMs? I think that's pretty solvable. Another challenge I think is just like finding like or like another opportunity, I should say, is having the AI agent be the recruiter and do like all as much as possible the interaction to get from kind of someone wanting to hire to having an interview booked. There's a lot of kind of admin coordination work, interview scheduling, matching, etc. That is kind of like not the best use of a human's time. And so if we can use AI to really take all the boring parts out of recruiting for the recruiter, and allow them to spend more time actually talking to people and like thinking strategically and being a little bit more proactive, then I think it's going to make hiring a lot better.
You forfeited 300K in fees to relocate Ukrainian engineers. Where does that come from?
Yeah, I don't look at it that way. I don't think we would have made those fees if we, like a lot of those. So in 2022 we did a campaign where we didn't charge fees for hiring engineers from Ukraine, and we like specifically promoted all the Ukrainian engineers that we could on our platform, and that was really, I guess, powerful experience because we helped people get out of really dangerous areas and just kind of got to meet a few of them actually here, and like got to see. I have still here a little Ukrainian Futurama magnet from Alex, one of the guys. So you kind of just feel and as someone who's like from that part of the world, my grandfather's Ukrainian, and my grandma's actually on my mom's side boyfriend is Ukrainian. There's a lot of like interaction between the two cultures of Russia, Ukraine, having been the same country before. So yeah, that I didn't see it as forfeiting the fees. We just kind of gave the hires or did what we could.
You talk about this borderless world, right? So for a guy who's essentially lived a borderless his whole life, like what does that world actually look like?
Yeah. Well, I want to like make sure it's not like it's not like borderless for everyone, free for all. There's no countries. That's not what I believe. Countries are important. Sovereignty, great. So I think what it means though is if you have the same skills and the same kind of the same skills, English skills, technical skills, all different skills you would need for a job, that you have a good chance of finding that job in another country, just the same as someone who is in that country. So it creates this global, marketplace and competition for jobs, and allows people to leave places where they don't want to live, and to move to places that are better for them and their families for quality of life. And then also allows companies who maybe wouldn't be able to get talent in that same level to find talent that's really great and will stick around longer and hopefully do a really good job and impact the company. So that I found that it's like a really good win-win for both sides, and that's kind of what I'm trying to create more and more.
The big fear right now is that AI is replacing engineers, right? So from where you sit, what's actually happening to demand for talent?
Yeah, it's actually increasing. It's really interesting, the whole Jevons paradox thing that people are talking about. It's this economist from the Industrial Revolution that said the as something value of something or the price of something decreases, the usage of it increases. So the price of intelligence and coding and building software has decreased, but the use and creation of software has increased. I think there's been like 10 times more commits to GitHub in the last month than there was like all of 2 years ago or something like this. Like there's so many more agents building so much more software, and someone has to manage those agents. And that person is the old previous software developer who is now kind of more of a software architect and orchestrator of agents and reviewer of their code. And so that's creating more jobs. It's not like a crazy, like, let's just hire for the sake of hiring, like it was maybe in 2021. It's a little bit more, I would say, calculated and smart and connected to business results. The developer jobs have not gone down. And it's exciting to see.
So to land the plane for me, 10 years in, what's the next frontier for Van Hack and for global talent?
Well, I think it's Vanna, which is our AI tech recruiter that we've built. So VANNA, Vanna.com is the kind of new landing page and brand, and what we're trying to go to market with. And the idea is that you can add Vanna to your tech hiring stack for a flat fee of $3,000 a month and have it do the work of a tech recruiting agency and help you hire as many engineers as you like. So yeah, trying to become the AI tech recruiter that can introduce you to 500,000 engineers for a flat monthly fee. It's kind of the pitch.
So good. So good. Awesome. Ilya, thank you so much for your time. Where do people learn more about, I guess you just said vanna.com, maybe plug VanHack as well. It's vanhack.com.
Yeah.
Are you leaving stuff on LinkedIn? Are you on Twitter? Where do people plug into your consciousness?
Those would be the places. So I'm the only person in the world with my name. Pretty easy to find. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Twitter, or X, I guess. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all. I see we have almost 30 people tuned in. Thank you all for listening. And yeah, until next time, Ilya, hang back for 1 minute. I'm going to bring this stream to an end.